I'm calling to order the East Chicago Common Council regular scheduled meeting for Monday, February 4th. Can everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
First District Councilwoman Monica Gonzalez.
Here.
Second District Councilman Lenny Francisci.
Present.
Third District Councilman Terrence Hill.
Here.
Fourth District Councilwoman Stacy Winfield.
Present.
Sixth District Councilwoman Gilda Orange.
Present.
Councilman at Large Dwayne Ransford.
Present.
Councilman at Large Emiliano Perez.
Present.
Councilman at Large Kenneth Monroe. Council President Robert Garcia.
Present. Clerk Santo, let the record reflect that Kenny Monroe is feeling under the weather still. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
Motion by Councilman Francisco. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. President.
Yes. There are no minutes? Okay. Any communication from the mayor?
No, Mr. President.
Any communication from department heads?
Yes, accounts payable warrant 021420CC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Orange, second by Lenny Francisci. Any questions on the matter? Hearing no questions on the matter. Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Francisci,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Accounts payable warrant 022420LA.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Orange, second by Councilman Perez. Any questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Francisci,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Accounts payable warrant 022420CC.
So moved.
Motion made by Lenny Francisci, seconded by Councilman Ransford. Any questions on the matter?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilman.
Like I brought up once before, I was looking through the invoices of some of these vendors, and we're still getting charged exceedingly over some of these auto mechanic repairs. I think we should try to incorporate an outside inspector to come and look at some of these vehicles that are being fixed on that have these major problems. Like when I took my car to Volkswagen and I got an extended warranty with CarShield, Volkswagen assessed the problem, but you had to wait till a CarShield inspector to come in before they can start the work. And the reason I say that, because I think some of these mechanical repairs exceed some of the repairs that they are doing. Because someone told me that one of the mechanics changed the brakes on a 2018 truck, yet it only needed brakes, but he went and said they needed rotors when they didn't. So we, just like if we want to put a motor or something in, a major problem, we should have an outside inspector to come and make sure that's what this vehicle needs before we can pay all this money for the repairs on these city vehicles. And that's saving money. Because if you look at the invoices, I don't know who's looking at their packet, but I look at mine every day when I get it. And some of these guys are making an extremely amount of money on fixing these vehicles. Thank you.
Any other questions on the accounts payable? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Francisci,
Yes.
Hill,
No.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Cancellation warrants 2017.
Mr. Gomez, can you, since we have some new members, can you please explain it?
Good afternoon, Val Gomez, City Controller. Every year, at the end of the year, when we close the books, we're required by Indiana Code to submit a list to the council of any checks that are 2 years or older that haven't been cashed. So our checks are good for 2 years. So and you don't have to vote, it's just presenting the list to the council, so you're aware. Any questions?
Thank you, Val. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Employee contract, Attorney Patrick Lip.
Attorney Buscemi, can you step to the podium, please?
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council. This is an employment contract that I recommend to the council that it consider this evening and approve. This is an employment contract with Attorney Patrick Lip of Valparaiso, who is an experienced municipal law attorney. The council members who were held over after the recent 2019 election are aware that our law firm, Burke, Costanza, and Carberry, had a conflict of interest with respect to providing legal advice for you, the members of the council, on the issue of the enterprise zone board and on the issue of the extension of the city enterprise zone. The council, you may recall, passed an ordinance that extended the enterprise zone for a period of 1 year, and that ordinance also, and then more recently, at a recent meeting, you also made 2 appointments to the Enterprise Zone Board of Directors. Those actions by the council, the passage of the ordinance extending the zone for a year, and the appointment of your council members to the Enterprise Zone Board, they're being challenged by the Enterprise Zone and by its attorney as claiming that those actions of the council are illegal and improper and invalid. Our law firm has a conflict of interest with respect to giving you advice on the topic of the enterprise zone because one of our partners previously has been a lawyer representing the East Chicago Enterprise Zone Board of Directors. Therefore, the proper way to resolve this is for me to step back on this issue only pertaining to the enterprise zone ordinance and for the council to engage a separate legal advisor, and that individual is the individual who is the subject of the employment contract, Patrick Lip, and I recommend that you consider and approve this contract so that the members of the council can get independent legal advice with respect to enterprise zone matters, the extension of the zone, and also the board, the council's authority to appoint 2 members to the enterprise zone board, independent advice from a attorney on the matter.
Councilman Franciski?
Yes.
So since your law firm has the conflict of interest, you're going to be paying a bill for it? Because it's your conflict of interest, correct? Because we hired you as an attorney, we're hiring you already. You have the conflict of interest, so of course we don't have to pay the bill, correct? Your firm will be picking it up?
It's not anything that I guess the best way to answer that, Councilman, is it's not anything that our firm did that is causing this expense for the council. This is a legal services contract. The council needs legal services if you wish to pursue the validity of the ordinance and wish to pursue enforcement of the appointment of your 2 members that were appointed. And therefore, in a situation like this, our firm wouldn't pay this expense. Our duty under the ethics rules is simply to step back and not serve as your advisor.
Councilwoman Orange?
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. In fact, we interviewed Patrick Lip when we first were trying to get an attorney. But the governor got the same letter as the council and the mayor. So the governor nor the mayor now has an appointment on the Urban Enterprise Board at all. So they have accepted that and they have moved on. I had presented that resolution in November, the first part of November. Councilman Garcia is the one that tabled it into the last meeting of the year. which caused all of this conflict. That could have been over with and done with. But he tabled it in the last meeting, and then the meeting went over and the mayor didn't sign it. And so then now here we are. Whether we hire somebody or not, I don't think that these appointments are valid anymore. It was only for 1 year. They asked for 5 years. Councilman Garcia changed it to the 1 year. And like I said, it would have been passed if we could have got it passed in November, but it was tabled to the last minute thing in December. And I'm asking this council not to incur the cost of another attorney to do this. Whether the enterprise zone, it was sunsetting anyway. But like I said, they wanted the 5 years. It was only granted 1 year with stipulations. And so I think that it was this council's position that they wanted to hold it off to the last minute. It was tabled. We were supposed to get information. It never was. Then all of a sudden at the last meeting, they want to pass it, hurry up and get it through. And that's been one of the complaints of Councilman Garcia from past councils, is that you wait to the last minute, they want everything rushed through. So this is what happened, and now here we are.
Sure. Councilwoman Orange, you raise some questions regarding whether the ordinance is proper, whether the council's ordinance to extend the enterprise zone for the additional year is valid, but that's what the ordinance said. And you've also raised the issue of whether the council has authority to make the 2 appointments that were made at the recent meeting. Those are precisely the issues that are being raised by the attorney representing the enterprise zone board, so that the council members need to understand, in case it's not clear, that attorney is saying your ordinance is invalid, and that attorney is saying your appointments to the board are invalid. So, to clarify, if you wish to proceed and have your ordinance honored, which extends the enterprise zone for 1 year, and if you wish to have your appointments recognized and seated on the enterprise zone board, then you will need legal counsel to assist you, because the council has been, and that would be Patrick Lipp on this. This is what is called just a limited engagement. The council would be engaging Patrick Lipp just for this limited manner. If you want to pursue your position as the council on the ordinance and on the appointments, you'll need legal assistance. That would come from Patrick Lipp. It simply can't come to from our office because of our previously stated conflict of interest.
Councilman Guzman?
I have a question. Is the enterprise zone, is it going to be dissolved? I just don't know.
That's one of the issues that's in dispute, that the council has taken the position that it's not dissolved and that it is extended for 1 year. The enterprise zone board has taken the opposite position. Councilwoman, that's one example of precisely why you need legal services and a legal advisor to advise you of your rights as a council on that issue. That's an issue that, because of the conflict, I can't give you advice on. Does that answer your question?
I guess I'm just wondering if it's worth us fighting for, because I'm not sure if they don't have our approval, can they exist?
That's one of the legal issues. The council has taken the position that it can and did approve a 1-year extension. The enterprise zone board has taken the legal position, the opposite, that the extension should not be honored.
So they just want to move on without us, is basically what they're saying?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes, Mr. Shimmy, do you think this gentleman can be president at our next meeting?
He can.
Okay. Lipp?
Yes.
Attorney Patrick Lipp?
I would recommend
Okay.
that he be present only if you engage him as your legal
Right.
advisor.
So I would know who he is if we
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Councilman Orange?
And I just want to let my colleagues know, the enterprise zone does not exist because this council says yes or no. They just have two appointments on the board. Hammond had dissolved theirs and incorporated theirs with their redevelopment department. Once this sunsets, the mayor, the governor, and nobody else would have anything to do with the urban enterprise. They would have the right to become a nonprofit organization and continue on their mission. They just cannot collect tax dollars like when they used to get when a business would come, they would get a tax break. But with the 1, 2, 3 cap, they don't need a tax break from us. So the enterprise zone was not collecting a lot of money anyway. So its sunsetting means that it was not going to be around anyway after a certain amount of years. When Councilman Garcia decided it was going to be 1 year instead of 5 years, it could have existed for 5 years. They still don't collect any more money. They can't engage any more taxes. They can't have a person, they can't bring in any businesses under this umbrella to say that they can do more business. It's just like it never was. They just have seats on the board because it was they were collecting taxes. But once you're not collecting taxes, it doesn't make any difference. They can be a non-profit organization. They can do whatever they want to do. It doesn't have to be. This, to me, and my personal opinion, this personal thing, but that Councilman Garcia wants some information that he wanted from that organization. They didn't give it to him, so now this is a fight now to $3,000 Patrick Lip to come in and do a personal vendetta for him, and that's the way I feel about it.
Any other questions? Well, just to say, I don't think personal attacks don't get nobody nowhere on this council. I didn't make the changes by myself. There was at least 5 council members that made changes to that resolution. So to say, to throw my name out there, I think that's a personal attack. But I don't take that to heart. You know what? 5 members voted on that at least. We passed that. This is about transparency, and their board has not wanted to be transparent. I think that's the reason they don't want to be governed no more, because they don't want transparency. Any other questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez?
No.
Franciski?
No.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Orange?
No.
Ransford?
Abstain.
Perez?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes. Any committee reports? Hearing no committee reports, any board reports?
Yes, Mr. President, you have the police merit board appointment.
Can you read the results, please?
Yes. The votes came in on Wednesday, February 19th, 2020, before 3 p.m. There were 3 members that applied. Ricardo Chavarria with 5 votes, Michael W. Smith with 3 votes, and Christopher Vitz with 0 votes and 1 no vote.
Can I hear a motion, Councilwoman Orange?
Yes, and when we're speaking about transparency, you wrote a letter on February the 4th to Michael Smith and it has all of our names on here from the council. I'm writing you this letter on behalf of the Common Council to request that you continue to serve as Common Council selected board member on the Police Merit Commission. We have appreciated the diligent work you have done the last 4 years on the Police Merit Commission. You have served on the Police Merit from February 12th to 2016, and your term will expire February 12th, 2020. We are asking you to continue to serve the community for another 4-year term, February 20th until February 2024. Your experience will be continued access to this commission. I hope that you continue to assist us by accepting another term on the Police Merit Commission. Sincerely, Robert Garcia. You had none of our permission to write this letter, and as I told you in a text, that I felt that was wrong, because now, to me, there's an embarrassment for Commissioner Smith, and that you sent this letter out to him saying that he was going to be on the board, instead of saying that going through the process, since we hadn't changed the process, used all of our names as like this was an official business you had no right to, and now he doesn't even have a seat on the board. I think it was wrong, and you shouldn't have done it.
Like I said, Councilwoman Orange, personal attacks ain't gonna get you nowhere.
Well, it's the truth. They ain't no personal attack.
I am talking Councilwoman Orange. You want to continue attack? We're not going to get nowhere on this council if you want to continue that. I brought it up at the council meeting. Nobody says something, and I did go forward with that letter. All right? I had a couple people that did come and say something, and we took it to a vote.
No, I don't think, nobody here voted on that. Nobody. Everybody I know, nobody voted for Michael Smith to be.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
And you did personal attacks for 4 years, and now all of a sudden, now you don't want personal attacks.
No, I never personally attacked nobody. I talked the truth. Is there a motion to accept the results for Rick Chavarria?
So moved.
It's moved. Moved by Councilman Perez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Brunsfer. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. President. Okay, it was brought to my attention that, I have nothing against Mr. Chavarria or anything, but it was brought to my attention that Mr. Chavarria is the uncle of the police chief. Now, wouldn't that cause some sort of conflict of interest in the event that something goes down with the police chief or someone who's in favor of the police chief and it goes before Rick Chavarria, and won't that deter his vote from voting the right way?
Councilman, that's a fair
Assessment?
question and a fair assessment. However, there's no specific statute that automatically excludes Mr. Chavarria by virtue of the uncle-nephew relationship. The matter that you raised should be simply, it can be taken into consideration by the members of the council in deciding whether to appoint this individual to that particular position.
Councilwoman Gonzalez.
Just to, I guess, ease your mind a little bit, there's a spouse of a police officer also on that merit board. So, they,
I don't know that.
have confidence in them so that they can make the right decision.
Councilwoman Orange.
And Councilman Hill, I brought that up when they put Ms. Colcott on the police merit board. How could that be when she was the wife of a police officer, and that should not be. But they said at the time, Mr. Buscemi wasn't here, but at the time they said that there was no state statute on who could serve on the police merit board. So, and when we tried to argue that point, they said there's no statute, and that's the way it is. So now here we are.
Thank you.
Councilman Perez.
Yeah, I think also if the police merit board is anything like the fire civil service commission board, they will have no jurisdiction over the chief himself. So they're not going to be disciplinary actions against the chief. So while it may affect, there's a reasonable person can assume that maybe it affect the decision that the chief makes. There's really not a conflict per the chief himself, because he's not under the purview of the merit board. The merit board has no authority over the chief at all. That's a mayoral appointment, and the mayor, he serves at the mayor's will and pleasure, and no one can discipline either the police chief or the fire chief but the mayor.
The mayor. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing no questions, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Transfer,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Any ordinances on first reading?
Yes, ordinance 20-0002, Sponsor, Mayor Anthony Copeland, an ordinance vacating a public alley pursuant to Indiana Code 36-7-3.
Is anybody here to read, to talk about that?
Yes, I am. Richard Morrisroe, Assistant City Attorney and Acting City Planner. I've been Acting City Planner since around the 4th of July when Marino Solorio submitted his resignation. So, in the late 1970s and early 80s, Mayor Pastrick and the Redevelopment Commission tried to acquire as much as they could the properties along Michigan Avenue from Dickey Road to Guthrie. We're not talking about that whole two-block area, but rather from the block bounded by Michigan, Dickey Road, Watling on the rear, and then Grand Boulevard, which divides the two-block area. The purpose at that time, as I understood it, was to try to encourage businesses that would service the steel plants to locate there. What ended up happening is that most of the businesses that serve the steel plants have space within the steel plant. And I don't know what those arrangements are exactly, but they didn't locate, they didn't construct operations outside the steel plants. However, we have now a service plant that is considering moving from the state of Illinois. The block that was there was divided up into many, many lots. There were many were 25-foot small, at least on the Michigan Avenue side. There was also a theater, a hotel. We had bars. We had variety of enterprises. Some of you remember them better than I. I was there from 1972, but a lot of the buildings were already coming down at that time. So I have filed a petition for the vacation of that alley. All that is in that alley is a NIPSCO line, not a main line, but a line that serviced the buildings that were there. I've spoken to the one business that's on the northwest corner of the property. The rest of the property may be sold, as I say, to a service business that would come from Illinois. So it's in that spirit. We've posted this for a public notice at your next meeting, and you have a small map. I have a larger map here. If there's any question about where the site is, we probably will be back at some time in the near future, also vacating the alley on the adjoining block, the block that runs from Grand to Guthrie.
Any other questions for Mr. Morrisroe? Thank you, Mr. Morrisroe, appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Roll call?
Gonzalez. Franceschi.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Winfield.
Yes.
Orange.
Yes.
Transfer.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes. Any ordinance on second or third reading?
No, Mr. President.
Any resolutions?
No, Mr. President.
Old business? Yes.
I would, once again, I would come before you just in recognition of February being Black History Month. And I told you I would come back with a list of names of legends that we stand on the shoulders of. And I just want to give some names and let everyone know of some of the historians we have in the city of East Chicago. And I would like to start off with Mr. Buscemi, if you want to start off.
Mr. President and members of the council, speaking of East Chicago legends, as part of this celebration of Black History Month, I had the privilege when I was a little boy of meeting East Chicago State Representative James Hunter. I met him when I was a little boy. I met him through my father. My father was State Representative Sam Buscemi, and my father served with Representative Hunter together in the Indiana House of Representatives from 1948 to 1954. Being the oldest of 5 children, I had the privilege oftentimes of being the one among all of the kids that would be brought along with Dad to tag along for political and governmental activities. And that's how I met Representative Hunter. I remember the man, a distinguished man, an honorable man, and a person that was respected without any qualification by everyone. Representative Hunter served, all told, in the Indiana House of Representatives for 26 years, from 1940 to 1955. At the time of his service, he enjoyed the longest tenure from Lake County of any black legislator, having served from 1940 to 1965 for a continuous period of 26 years until his death. One of the hallmark accomplishments of Representative Hunter, as I alluded to 2 weeks ago at our meeting, is that he sponsored the law that is on the books in the state of Indiana today, requiring desegregation of our public schools in 1949, 71 years ago. That law prohibited separate schools that at the time were organized, because the law allowed it, on the basis of race, color, or creed, and prohibited racial and creedal segregation, prohibited separation, and prohibited discrimination in our Indiana public schools, colleges, and universities. The law passed the House of Representatives, as sponsored by Representative Hunter, 58 to 21. It passed the Indiana Senate 31 to 5, and was signed in 1949 into law by Governor Henry F. Schricker. I'd like to just quickly read Representative Hunter's bio, if I may, because I think it's an example of the significant contributions he made not only to the city of East Chicago, but to the state of Indiana and to the United States of America. James Sherman Hunter, born May 31, 1900, in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Moved to New Orleans, Louisiana, and then moved to East Chicago in the 1920s. Attended New Orleans public schools, graduated from Dillard University as a baker's apprentice, married Mawn Cohn, and Representative Hunter and his wife had 2 children. United States Army World War I veteran, steel worker, insurance broker, realtor, chairman, Hunter Real Estate and Insurance Brokerage, a business that Representative Hunter ran here in the city of East Chicago. East Chicago Democratic Central Committee Assistant Chairman, Lake County Democratic Central Committee Secretary, Lake County Welfare Board President, East Chicago Redevelopment and Housing Board, State Fair Employment Practices Commission, East Chicago Board of Health, East Chicago Urban Renewal Committee, National Citizens Committee for Community Relations, Lake County Industrial Society, CIO Labor Union, Twin City Business and Professional Association, United Steelworkers of America, Veterans of World War I Organization, East Chicago Biracial Committee, Chairman, Lake County Crippled Children's Society, East Chicago Civic Lead, Twin City Recreational Center, Advisory Board. Representative Hunter, with that distinguished service, passed away on September 15, 1965. I think he's an appropriate person to recognize as part of our celebration of Black History Month here in the city of East Chicago, a true East Chicago legend.
Mr. Buscemi, one thing you failed to mention, he also has the senior citizen building named after him over in the harbor section, the James Hunter Building.
And appropriately so.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and I won't say the first African American, because these are all first African Americans.
Yes.
The Honorable Anthony Copeland, Mayor, Drake Morris, Kenneth Monroe, Stacy Winfield, Terry Hill were the first elected school board of trustees. Patricia Dixon Darden was the first administrator of the health department in East Chicago. Lewis Williams was the first department head of the city of East Chicago, and Frank Smith was the first police chief.
and Henry Walker was the first president of the East Chicago Bar Association. Eugene Williams was the first commander of East Chicago Police Department. Dale May Williams was the first elected judge. Bernard Carter was the first prosecutor of Lake County. Mary Morris Leonard was the first elected city clerk of East Chicago.
Solomon Ard, first fire chief of East Chicago. John Artis, first executive director of housing redevelopment. Frida Dawkins, is that your grandma? First director of human rights. Jimmy Dent, first elected official in East Chicago. Johnny Florence, first director of bus transportation in the city of East Chicago.
Gail Pugh Harris, first city planner. Robert Hoggs, first director of central services. Hattie Upshaw Leonard, first dean of girls at Washington High School. Harvey Sanders, first deputy chief police of city of East Chicago. Noah Anderson Spann, first mayor's assistant, first commissioner of the state of Indiana. Robert Staton, first elected official Lake County and state legislator. And those are some of our legends that we stand on the shoulders of. Happy Black History Month as we end February.
Those are, good job.
I'm glad I'm in now.
Those are a lot great legends we have here in East Chicago, and there are many, many more also.
Thanks.
We're still in old business. Any old business? Mr. Buscemi, did we get any information on the, I know we got the information on the grass cutting. Did we get anything from the park department reference the Christmas lights contract?
The mayor's office has acknowledged the request for the records pertaining to the Christmas lights, each of the requests that council members have made, and they've indicated that we don't have the records yet. They indicated that they're assembling the records and will be provided. Likewise, with respect to the records request that you instructed me to tender for the various fire department records, Chief Cerna has acknowledged the receipt of that request. Likewise, he has indicated he is assembling requested records and will provide them as soon as possible.
Ellie, have you heard anything from Chief of Staff Sandra or Will from the engineering department?
No, I know they received the letters, but I haven't received any word.
Councilman Hill?
Yeah, Mr. President, Sandra, although all that information goes to Sandra, she does a great job. I've been talking with her ever since they gave her that task, and every time I call her, she calls me back, and she gets the job done. So I don't think it's a need for her to come up here. Just give her a call and let her work it out. If she wants that added job that they've given to her, that's on her. And she does a great job. She calls you back, and she gets it done.
Any other old business? New business? Any new business? Hearing no new business, public expression. Just remind all speakers it'll be 3 minutes. I'm going to set that up right now. I got Catherine Thomas.
3 minutes start when I get up here, right?
Yes, when you get up, when you start talking.
My name is Catherine Thomas. I live in the 5th District, 3822 Hemlock Street. Thank you, Stacy, for your nice presentation on Black history. I'm also sitting here, I think we got a legacy sitting over here, Mr. Richard Morrisroe. He may not be the same color as I am, but this man taught me more about my Black history than anybody I know. This man stood with some strong people, Martin Luther King and all the rest, and almost lost his life. That's my baby. Okay, that's my person there. He deeps to my heart. In fact, he taught me a lot about righteousness and justice for all. So I'm hoping that this council don't waste East Chicago tax money on fighting personal vengeance. Fight for us, because we need a lot of things done here in East Chicago. And I think all of you can spend time getting together, mending some fences, and coming to a solution of bringing justice and righteousness for all. And that means in jobs and in housing. You know, it's a lot of things going on. And I'm just praying for all of you. And thank you for all that you're doing. But please, let's not take personal vendettas out. Because sometimes I sit back, I want to say more, but I don't want to get personal. But think with your heart. Let your heart guide you and let God guide you. Okay? And I say thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next is Steve Nowaski.
Novoski, yes.
Nowaski.
Hi, my name is Steve Novoski. I'm second district. My concern is about having a ramp, a disability ramp, or from the curb to the sidewalk. I was told that they couldn't do it because it ain't a driveway. Now, I'm disabled, my mom's disabled. She has a hard time getting up over the curb and getting down the curb. And I'd like to find out how or what can I do to have a part of the curb taken out and put up a ramp. That's my main concern, is for having a handicap ramp put in place of a curb. I just want to know what to do and how about to go doing it.
Mr. Nowaski,
Yes.
I could get together with you at the end of the meeting so we could try to coordinate that with the building department or the engineering department to see what we can do, or is there a solution to the problem.
Okay, thank you.
Barrett Taylor.
Good evening. Barrett Taylor. I want to start off by saying I'm not an East Chicago resident. I don't work here, but I do have an interest in East Chicago, as my daughter, her mother is a firefighter, and pretty much all of you know her. I do want to thank the members of the council that have tried to work to restore the 24-hour shifts and normal shift work the firefighters work. And with that, I want to say what I have to say has nothing to do with any of you. What it does have to do with is the people that believe that what is happening is just and right. And what has happened with the mayor switching the shift work up seems to me to be pretty petty. It really is petty enough, and it seems petty enough that what it amounts to is honestly, a 5-year-old little girl that got mad because somebody didn't like the bow she wore in her hair that day. And he's taking it out on everybody else. And the people that are suffering is the firefighters' families, and downright the citizens of East Chicago. But what I said when I was told that, they felt that they couldn't believe the mayor was so petty, I said, it's true. I said, but what's more petty, or what's more sad, is the fire chief, the man that took the job to be a leader. And a leader is supposed to look after his people, protect his people, teach them to protect themselves, nurture them, and make them leaders also. But what he's done is he traded that in for a gold-trimmed white shirt that he thought was going to give him power and respect. And the only power he got out of that shirt was what the mayor lets him have. So it's not even his own power. And the respect that he thought he was going to get isn't earned, and he got none. What he ended up getting is hate, animosity, and resentment, which to me is worse than not getting any respect at all. And I said something to Chief Cerna here 2 years ago, and I'm going to say it again, and I extend this out to anyone that believes, like I said, that this is right, what's happening. And that is when, and hope it never does, but if and when something does happen to a firefighter, I don't want him to come to my door. If it's my girlfriend or if it's another firefighter with children, I don't want him to come to my door or that other firefighter's door with some scripted fake condolences.
Minute left.
I want them to stand there, and I want them to look that child in the face. Look them right in the eyes. Get down on the level of my little girl, and you tell her that because that gold badge sitting on that white shirt felt so much better on you than the safety of the men and women that we're supposed to be looking after. That is the reason that mommy, daddy ain't coming home to tuck you in again. And if you can live with that, if the fire chief can live with that, and the mayor can live with that, then roll on, man. Keep going.
30 seconds.
That's it. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Eddie Rivera.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Eddie Rivera. I'm the Vice President of Local 365. I'm here for a few reasons, but I'm going to start with one. For years, we've talked to CERNA about bringing back in our training department because we've been lacking in that area. I actually helped run that department for a while under Councilman Perez. With that struggle, he's kept telling us we don't have the manpower for it. You know, there's no way he can get us in there. He can't just create positions when there's no manpower. They put us on this shift that decreased our manpower. They actually pulled people out of the inspection bureau. We had 2 people in the inspection bureau that were pulled, and now they're on this crazy 8-hour shift with us. The reason I'm telling you guys all this is because with our shortage of manpower and the fact that we supposedly don't have men to do this stuff, he pulled one of our guys off of our shift the other day and created another position in the front office. A position that's never existed before as the assistant of another position that didn't exist before. So now we have 2 staff captains, or I'm sorry, a staff captain and an assistant staff captain that are working straight days. So even with our lack of manpower, he felt it was okay to pull even more guys, which is shortening the turn another person that was already short. So that's one thing. So 2, this is day 80 of this shift now. Chief CERNA spoke to a few of our probationary firefighters who are going through the EMT class as we speak. And he was asking them how it's going, why they haven't been able to complete this class yet. Well, one of them spoke to him and told him it's hard. On this shift, it's hard. He gets home to try and study. He wants to sleep. And he was told, you're young. You can find another job. If you don't like it, you can quit. That's the kind of leadership we have right now. This is what we're working under, and this is why we get so aggravated and so frustrated with all the stuff that's going on. It's so much more than the public's able to see. And the fact that we have to work under somebody, thank you, the fact that we have to work under somebody that would tell somebody just to quit is insane to me. Lastly, I've missed the last few meetings, but I was hoping to get here. Councilman Garcia, you were talking about personal attacks. At the last meeting I was at on January 13th, I myself was personally attacked after the meeting by Councilman Orange, who decided to come up to me after the meeting, I'm not sure if anybody was here or heard, and came right over here and called me an asshole for speaking my mind during public expression. Yeah, after you called me an asshole, yes. So I'm speaking. Can we stop my time since you want to cut me off?
Respect each other. Excuse me, I got the floor now. I got the floor now. Excuse me.
Huh?
We're gonna not debate this on the floor. We're not gonna debate this on the floor. Please, we're not gonna debate this on the floor. Let's take the names out of this. Councilwoman Orange, please. We're not gonna debate this on the floor. We're not gonna debate this on the floor.
Actually, that's not true. No.
It's not.
I have the video. We'll play it for you. So I do. It's in my pocket.
That should be his time.
I'm asking both parties to stop, please.
He wasted his time arguing with that, so that should be his time. You know, that's his time.
How is my time?
That's your time. I know, but that's your time. That's your time.
She cut me off.
I know,
so
but
my
that's your
time
time.
should stop when she cuts me off.
You got a minute left.
No disrespect, man.
Oh, I get it, and I'm almost done. That's all I wanted to get out. But yeah, the fact that I was trying to talk, I get cut off again. But that's all I had to say. I appreciate your time. So I'm gonna leave it at that before it gets too heated.
Okay, thank you.
Next speaker, Angel Galsky.
Angel Glarski, Secretary, Local 365. First, I want to say the Black History Month, that was interesting. I didn't know all the stuff about Mr. Hunter, and all the other names on there was, and I know some of those were actually kind of newer names, so that was a good thing. We'll talk about the fire department issues. As Mr. Rivera said, today is day 80, okay? When this started, it was supposed to save money. Chief CERNA said that it was going to save thousands. So I know we have members of our union have put in Freedom of Information requests to get the overtime numbers. I heard in the meeting that the council's still waiting back for those numbers. We have kind of been informally keeping track of the overtime on our own. This is not an official number at all. This is probably pretty conservative, but we're over $50,000. It's over that. That's how much it's cost so far. and it's probably more than that. It's providing less. We still have the 3 engines in the city. The other day, let's hold on. So since December 7th, we've had over 400 calls for service. So those 3 engines, that rescue and the truck in the city has ran over 400 calls. There's been over at least 15 fires. Okay, now a fire could be anywhere from a structure fire. We've had, I think, 3 good structure fires. We've had 4 or 5 littler ones, maybe like a stove fire. We've had some dumpster fires. We've had car fires. Just on Friday, we had a mill fire. Okay, so you know, when we go into the mill, you're getting in there and you're going deep. So it's hard for us to come back out of there. So when we went in there, we committed 2 engines, which left the city with 1 engine with 3 people on it, a truck, and a rescue with 2 people on it to cover the rest of the entire city. We need that 4th engine back, okay? And I know this is in litigation and everything, but this is costing more, it's providing less, it's not efficient. At some point, we have to be adults, and everybody has to sit at the table together, okay? Like, the union, we've been asking, you guys listen to us, and thank you for that. You know, we need the mayor and the council and the union, all 3 of us, to come sit at a table together and solve the serious safety issues happening within our city. Everybody's at risk. The firemen are at risk, our communities, our families. I mean, at some point, it's got to stop, you know, and it can't just stop because some judge said it. It needs to stop because we're all adults and we can talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Santos, any more public expressions?
No, Mr. President.
Hearing no more. Just to let everybody know, we got to expect a snowstorm probably coming in tomorrow. Please be vigilant of your neighbors, people in your district, especially your seniors. So they're saying it's going to snow anywhere from 5 inches to maybe a foot. So we don't know what we're going to get with this winter that we got. So please watch out for each other, watch out for your neighbors, and watch out for the seniors. Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Councilman Hill, second. Second by Councilman Rancifer. Roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Franciski?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransford?
Yes.
Perez? Garcia?
Yes.
I like that one.